There's something on the television tonight on Channel 7. It's compelling, and yet the title is in its own way quite chilling. Michael Hutchence, The Last Rock Star. And I believe it comprises never-before-seen footage and completely new songs. It's a funny day, isn't it? It's 100 years since Mata Hari was executed, 70 years since Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier, and 20 years since Michael Hutchence died. On the line, no less than Tina Hutchence, the sister. And the documentary, it's tonight and tomorrow night. It's 2 parts, never-before-seen footage. Good morning, Tina.
Hi, Red. Nice to meet you.
And you too. I'm guessing you haven't seen the documentary yourself.
I have not. I contributed a lot of family footage for it, but I haven't actually seen the documentary.
When you say family footage, is this like Super 8 things from your childhood or video things from your childhood maybe?
No, certainly not childhood. Most of this was taken from like 1990 on up. And it was simply, the family getting together for vacations. And we were only taking the video because my fiance and I had children. And so, Michael was not the primary person in this, but we were all together. We were staying at the same houses and so forth. So it's I think will surprise a lot of people.
Yes, indeed. I hear the trace of an accent. Were you born in Australia?
Oh yes, and I was 17 when we went to Hong Kong to live.
Okay,
and
yes.
Instead of going back to Australia, I came to the United States.
Right. The Hong Kong thing was kind of a family thing to various extents, wasn't it?
A family thing? Oh yeah, we all went there to live. Is that what you mean?
Well, the arguments were put that it was useful to Michael because of various tax regimes that he had to deal with around the world, and Hong Kong was. But were your parents in Hong Kong at that stage?
Well, yes. Kel got a job there.
Yeah.
Managing director of, I don't know, it was a liquor company. And so we all moved there.
Yep.
Michael he had his 5th birthday right after we arrived. And yes, he stayed there until he was 12.
Was he the baby of the family?
No, Rex is younger than Michael by almost 3 years.
Okay. And are you the senior member of the family?
I am definitely the senior member. I guess I'm the matriarch now.
Yeah.
I was 12 years old when Michael was born. So my parents were both, Kel was mostly overseas and Mother was working in television, 12-hour days. So I became the primary caregiver for the first 5 years of Michael's life.
Yeah. Yeah, so I too have a sister who's 10 years younger than me, and you do take on some parental responsibilities with a sibling with such an age gap, I reckon.
That's right. Yes.
There are new songs on this. I've just wondered, do you know anything about those? Because they inherently sound interesting. It's an interesting idea that there are new songs.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's how I got into this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Saber, who actually wrote the songs with Michael, he called me early last year and asked if I would like to hear these songs. I hadn't thought about it. I knew he'd been working with Danny in his last 2 years, but I really didn't think there was anything left. But and I went to the studio and I listened to a lot of the raw stuff. It was sometimes it was maybe Danny playing the guitar and Michael singing, and they were just working together, you know. And so I went back, and I gradually heard these songs just come to life with Danny's expertise, really.
Oh, so the original work has been subsequently produced, is that right?
Subsequently produced. Well, he did, when you write, you just have a tape recorder on and you just singing along, and there was a lot of Michael singing without anything behind him.
Yeah.
So Danny, I mean, he could answer these questions much better than I, but he really took it in its raw state and put backing to where, it was things they talked about. He knew what Michael wanted. He could see his vision.
In a way, it's a parallel to somebody finding a notebook, a pen and paper notebook from a writer that was sort of rough drafts of perhaps a book, and then subsequently editing it into something a bit more polished, shall we say.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that Michael would really be so thrilled with the outcome. I think Danny's done a fantastic job, really.
And these will obviously appear in the television program, which is on tonight and tomorrow night. Can you recall the note he left in his room?
I only saw that when everybody else did, was get on the promos. I knew that. I knew that, or I assumed it was in the list of what was in his room. Of course, we never got anything that was in his room because that was all taken by the executor. But I knew that there were some writings in there. Well, he always walked around with a notebook, or he'd jot something on the back of an envelope or something. So I knew there had to be something.
But it doesn't necessarily follow that it was a very important note. He could have just been taking notes about his experience of everyday life, perhaps.
Yeah, he was usually writing lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so the lyrics actually, usually, as you say, it's part of his everyday life, of what he was living at that time.
Is it clear in your mind how or why he died?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, very clear now.
Is this something? Well, I'm not going to ask. I guess if I watch the documentary, I might get some insight into exactly what you mean by that.
I think you should, because it's not as simple as people might think. I think
I'm sure it's
you
not.
need to watch the documentary and hear different people who were speaking to him around that time. That's what I love about this, what they've done with this documentary, even though I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I can see that they have spoken to so many different people who truly knew him, truly spoke to him, had over the last, especially the last 2 years of his life. And you get such a sense of who Michael was, from his old friends and new friends.
I do wonder, and I don't want you to answer the question, whether he found himself at a period of his life where the things that went before didn't really apply in the moments he found himself in. So don't answer that, whatever you do, because I want to find out. Thank you so much for talking to us. It's been a lovely conversation.
Oh, thank you, Red. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on your show.
You're more than welcome. Tina Hutchence, sister of Michael Hutchence, 20 years ago he died. And there's a two-part documentary screening tonight on Channel 7 and tomorrow night with never-before-seen footage and never-before-heard songs. There's something on the television tonight on Channel 7. It's compelling, and yet the title is in its own way quite chilling.